folks, and welcome back to the Anchor Bay Archives podcast. I'm the Creepy Kentuckian.
And I am the rad one, Garrett from Born to Be Rad.
And this is kind of like our Halloween special, Garrett. We're very close to Halloween, and we kind of threw this out there a few months ago. And we have the two mics back at it, talking Anchor Bay Entertainment. And one of the biggest releases in the history of the entire company is the topic on today's show. The Evil Dead Book of the Dead edition. We're going to talk about all of Evil Dead in the history of Anchor Bay because there's a lot in the first movie. You can make a whole show out of this pretty easily, I think. What do you think, Garrett?
Oh, 100%. I mean, even in going back to VHS and then into the introduction to DVD, they did all those like specialty, hey, this is going to have 5 different cover arts and you're going to put them on VHS, and there's lunch boxes and there's those clear case ones and with all the different artwork and there's so many.
We milked that shit.
Yeah. Right. It was as a collector back then at the time, every time you saw a new one on the shelf, you wanted to grab it because not only were you just milking it as far as, different variants and stuff like that, it was cool because it seemed like every time a new edition came out, there was a lot of new stuff on it that you guys put on. So that always made it more, exciting.
That was one of the things that we always tried to do. I mean, that was the combo, is new packaging and then some new content. And that would be
just a little bit. Yeah.
Right.
Not a ton.
Because I remember Anchor Bay was really great at just putting their titles everywhere. So Kmart all the time had stuff in Kmart, Best Buy. Around Halloween, Walmart would have like a little DVD section of just pretty much Anchor Bay titles. So
we moved a lot of titles through Walmart.
A lot of stuff this time of year. But I wanted to go back pre-Anchor Bay and the Evil Dead VHS releases, and there weren't many. That's the interesting thing. Like, this was when I was growing up in the 80s in the video store, I always saw copies of the sequel, but the VHS of the original film, which I think HBO or somebody did it, but those were almost impossible to find.
Yeah, it had the initial release, the original clamshell Thorn EMI or whatever it was, HBO. That company went through a bunch of different iterations. And then it had a regular release that was just a standard slipcase, VHS box. And then that went out of print.
There is actually, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this.
No.
It's not very well written.
Written by someone, I can't quite make out the author here. But he was at Anchor Bay and wrote a lot of stuff. But anyway, it is kind of a history of that. So it's interesting because there's some pictures of
there's that
stuff.
Oh yeah.
So, I remember the guy I did write the Bringing the Dead Home for Dinner essay that's in the book.
The guy wrote about all that stuff back then, everything pretty much.
Well, not all of it, but a lot of it, yeah, especially around that time. But the guy who designed the booklet was a huge pain in the ass to deal with. Real diva, and just like, oh my god, I don't even want to get into all that shit again. But no, that was actually one of my favorite things I ever wrote there, because it covered that. It covered the fact that the movie had been off the market for a long period of time, so much so that someone bootlegged it for a while. It was called Congress Video.
Those are collector's items now too, by the way.
And you can even find it in somewhere like Walmart and Kmart. I remember seeing it on the Kmart shelf one day, and then one day they were just gone. They just disappeared. So I'm assuming Sam Raimi or Rob Tapper, someone at Renaissance went, what the fuck?
They're like, hey!
Yeah. And so that disappeared, and then for a while it just wasn't out there until Jay Douglas literally made a handshake deal with Sam Raimi to bring it back out again.
Yeah, and this was when Sam Raimi, this is right before the Spider-Man movies and all that stuff.
This was quite a few years before those.
He had some successful films and everything, but he wasn't major Hollywood success story.
Well, he had made a lot of money, but he had
done. I mean, at the point that this would have happened. This would have been after like Quick and the Dead, and before A Simple Plan, or around a sign of A Simple Plan. So he was kind of in an interesting kind of transitional phase in his career at that point. And he was kind of moving away from some of the stuff he had done before. And so that Jay kind of caught him at a point where it was just like, there wasn't the heat on him yet that was going to happen when Spider-Man turned out for him. And that changed everything after that. You know, he became the man behind the curtain. You know, no one sees the Great Wizard of Oz after that. But yeah, it was, and because 2002 is when the Book of the Dead came out, and that's when Spider-Man came out. So that was it was kind of a chaotic year. But we did the first things we did were the 5 VHS covers, and then we did do a collector's clamshell that just had the cabin on the front cover.
It was numbered too, right?
Yeah, it was in a gray case, a gray clamshell case. And of course, Garrett's going to get it because he has fucking everything back there.
It's one of 55 Evil Dead VHSs he has.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one. That's
baby.
Wow.
That's
that predates all the DVDs. Though. This was 98.
Yeah.
And this was limited to 35,000. And then you had these
not 3,500.
No, 35,000.
35,000.
And then you had these like
Garrett's still missing one though, right? Isn't there 5 of them total?
There are 5.
What's the one I'm missing? The one with the legs?
Yes.
That one must be impossible. I've never seen that one.
Oh, it's out there. You can find it.
Holy man!
Just got to pay for it, man. It's on eBay.
And then we
all
also
legs, right?
Yeah. It's just a.
But then Evil Dead Ultimate, I think all of the art.
Yeah, I know the picture's in there, but I've never I've searched for those, and I've never once seen that VHS tape on eBay ever.
And then we did. This is right before I got to the company. We did the jewel case DVD editions of all of those.
Yeah,
which surprisingly I have 0 of those. Which is wild.
I've got one. What I wanted to mention though too is because they did the same covers, but they were.
Right.
And these cases suck too, man. Whose idea was it to use these?
I think those cases were in fashion with some of the initial DVD companies for about 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's Platinum, I think, used
Platinum used them. Yeah. And actually there was, I think, IMAX or someone used them.
It's almost impossible to find any of them that's not broke or cracked.
Well, that was the problem with those. 2 things were a problem with that. Number one, they were just like jewel cases in that they snapped, broke, cracked easily. And 2,
and the discs fell out.
The disc would fall out, and then
shrink wrap when the disc is out of there.
And then some of them were hard as fuck to open.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this one's still kind of hard to open.
Yeah, and so those did not, and they were expensive. They weren't cheap to do those either because a lot of people weren't using those cases yet. It wasn't like CD cases where there were millions of them floating around out there.
It's interesting how that plastic holder eventually evolves into the digipad.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing though that I thought was interesting too. So you had the VHSs in '98 that all came out, which was a big deal. That's why I mentioned finding Evil Dead on video was not an easy thing before that. Very difficult. But yeah, Anchor Bay brought them out. They're pretty much everywhere, like Walmart, Kmart, Best Buy, or whatever.
And then Elite had the Laserdisc at around the same time.
Elite, yeah, they released I think the DVD and the Laserdisc at the same time. So they
did the first DVD was actually was Elite Entertainment. Yeah.
How did that happen? Because Anchor Bay had the VHSs, so you would think that would be almost all of home media. They should have the rights to. Don
and Vinny Moncalera, they were partners in that company, and they had made the deal with Jay to do the Laserdisc of Evil Dead. And at that point, I don't think Anchor Bay really valued DVD that much yet, because it was just still kind of like, well, we're doing the VH, So that was during that sort of weird nebulous period where everyone was waiting to see how DVD, if it was going to catch in the mainstream or not.
Yeah.
And so some companies were just like, well, you can have the DVD rights because right now we don't care. But that didn't last very long.
Yeah.
Elite stayed in print for a long time though, so there was not like Anchor Bay couldn't do their own DVD, but they just did a bare bones one, which was those 5 jewel case ones.
Well, they did. Like, that's the thing. It was like, what, 6 months later, after the Elite DVD, is when Anchor Bay did, their big collection of whatever it was, 5 DVDs, all in those little cases. So, I mean, just the timing of it, I always thought with that was just weird, the way that
well, those were more for mass consumption. The Elite one was more of a collector's item, and it was certainly geared at a higher price, and it was geared towards the Laserdisc market that was beginning to transition into DVD. Whereas the jewel case ones, those were meant for, Walmarts, Kmart's, those kind of things.
If you look, I mean, someone brought this up, complaining about on Facebook recently how in the early days of DVD, studios put out all of these bare bones editions, and then a few years later put out special editions and sort of double dip. And but the reason why is the studios were treating DVD like VHS, which was it's the movie and it's the trailer.
Right.
The bonus features were a thing of Laserdisc, and that was not for consumers. That was for collectors and things like that. And DVD had not figured out which way it was going yet, and it wound up going neither. I mean, it wound up basically becoming somehow a fusion of both, so that even mass market stuff was packed with bonus features and things like that.
It's interesting too, because Laserdisc was almost at the end of its life. I mean,
well, interestingly enough, Laserdisc was actually doing very, very well. It had actually gotten more mass acceptance right before DVD came out. You could actually find them in like Blockbuster music stores. It was getting the people were getting used to the widescreen thing because widescreen TVs were starting to be coming out. And so Laserdisc was actually doing very, very well.
This was around the time period that I got a Laserdisc player, like 99, 2000.
But when DVD came out and it went wide, Laserdisc was shot in the head and buried overnight.
Well, I remember some of the sites, it's almost like you was talking about Scream Factory now, like their closeouts and stuff. They had Laserdisc brand new.
Oh, yeah.
For shipping, pretty much. I mean, it was like
the Blockbuster music. There was the Blockbuster Music in South Park Mall in Charlotte. They had it wasn't a big store. It was a mall music store, but they had a very big Laserdisc selection there for a store like that. And they had everything from the latest releases to Criterion box sets and stuff like that. When DVD went wide, I think it was like on a Friday, or when they finally, after that initial wave of titles hit, and the stores just were starting to get their initial shipments of all because it was like Warner Brothers and Sony and Universal had the initial offerings. They discounted all of their Laserdiscs across the board, no matter what it was, to $9.99 each. I got the Pulp Fiction Criterion box set, which was normally $124 for $9.99.
Unbelievable.
I mean, they were kicking them out. They were throwing them at people as they were walking out.
They saw the writing on the wall.
Yeah, because for one thing, they were expensive. They were hard to ship. They took up a lot of room. DVDs didn't, and everyone was familiar with what it's like. Oh, it's a CD with a movie on it,
right? But it's something really strange though, and I don't think. I mean, we're kind of getting off topic, but this is what you guys talk about as a subject. But I don't think a lot of people really have thought about the fact that DVD is a bizarre thing that I don't think anybody has a good explanation as to why it happened. I mean, VHS or watching movies at home was a rental business almost exclusively. Then there was this small amount of sell-through, but like there were $100 for a videotape. And then eventually, Laserdisc comes in there, but it's still that people did it. I mean, that was a small number of people. Most people rented VHS. Somehow, when DVD came out, for reasons I've never heard a good explanation, the public switched to a sell-through model, and people would buy DVDs who'd never bought a VHS in their life.
Right.
Like I can go out to my dad's house or my sister's house, and every member of my family owns DVDs, but they did not own VHS, and they don't own Blu-rays and 4K. So for some reason, and it one reason might be that familiarity, but they obviously didn't. Not very many of them ported to 4K and DVD. It's just really strange
Well, I think that up until just recently, DVD was still the most popular format. Like, I think Blu-ray may have finally caught up, but yeah, for years and years and years, even after Blu-ray, DVD was still the number one selling format. But I mean, all that's almost gone now, though. Like, as far as it's more along the lines of cinephiles and all that is really the only ones left that's buying
It's gone to be, it's becoming a collector's market again.
Well, right. It's gone back to the way it is. Basically, streaming and digital have become what VHS was. I mean, now you rent movies, from Amazon or from Apple, and purchase. It's the same people who would have been buying laser discs back in the day. It's really just sort of strange how for a brief time the sell-through became a mass market thing in home video, but only for a good 10 years. Other than that, the mass market was all rental.
No. DVD changed the industry big time because I think they followed the music industry. You didn't rent CDs, you bought them. And
but why?
I think
because there was no option to rent a cassette tape. That's my point. For some reason,
it had been a gradual thing. VHS had started going more and more sell-through over the years. Yeah. And, that was still the case. I mean, there were still 89, 99 tapes for a lot. But, for example, I think for me, looking back at it, the one that really really kind of shifted VHS becoming something that people bought was Batman.
Yeah. I was just going to say that. That's what that was my first real big one.
That was the first one that was a major, across the board, huge box office hit that debuted as a sell-through.
They caught the formula too, where it was a summer blockbuster, which Batman was like a big summer blockbuster, and then by Christmas time it was out on.
It was out.
Video.
Yeah, that was also against
pricing was pretty decent too. It wasn't a super expensive. It was
it was like $30. It was like
right.
You could get it for $10.
Oh yeah, well, everybody had.
That was the thing. I remember there because obviously it's would have been something that you think would be sold in comic book stores.
No, it was
no one did, and the comic book stores all said the reason why is they could have ordered it, but their wholesale cost to buy it was cheaper than I could have bought it from Walmart. Like they would have bought it from Walmart for $10, but from the distributors they had to pay huge amounts because
I saw point of purchase displays at gas stations.
Yeah, and that was the first time someone was like, "Let's get this in every place where people are. This movie's going to be."
And that changed because after that, you really saw a lot more things going to sell through very quickly. Yeah. And I think with DVD, they just realized, this is where the market's going. And
but why did the market go that way? That's the
it's
weird
a lot
thing.
cheaper to produce DVDs too.
That was also another
thing.
Not as many. Then again, VHS wasn't that expensive either.
Right. I remember Jay was talking about that. He said the DVD was much more expensive to produce, but because it had a 34, because that was the thing. VHS, the MSRP was $19.99, and DVD, the MSRP was $34.99.
Right. So you got a
$15 extra. So it was they were much more expensive to produce, but there was a huge profit margin in them.
Yeah, and if you think about what the stores were
dropped like crazy.
And I worked at a videotape distributor, and what the stores were paying for the VHS, they weren't paying the full 89. They were paying maybe 65, 60. Right. But that's still $70 for a tape that has maybe $1.50 worth of materials in it.
Yeah, a lot of money to be made there.
Yeah,
sure.
So I think also, and that was another thing that was happening around that time, and it was certainly because I lost that job in '97. The blockbusters were taking over. The mom and pop video store industry was beginning to die off very rapidly. So people's rental habits were even starting to switch off a little bit. And, it was a very interesting transitional time for the video industry in the late 90s.
Well, the thing about Anchor Bay is, and what they offered to fans really for the first time, is the chance to buy these movies at very reasonable prices. Even back then when they were brand new at Suncoast or Best Buy or whatever, $25, $30 was a bargain compared to $89, $99, $99.
And they were remastered or presented widescreen because Jay just didn't schlep out the same old thing that had been out there before. And that's how I first noticed them, because on the video distributor I worked at, they, everything was classified by company. And it was suddenly it was VTR, which was for video treasures. all of a sudden, those tapes started drying up. We hardly got anything. And then all of a sudden, these other tapes started showing up under the VTR classification Maniac with a gatefold cover and in widescreen. And what's this fucking boat on the spine? And so I started paying attention, like, what the hell? Who's doing this? And how can I get more of it? And, that's when I started calling, that's how my whole thing with them started. Because I just saw these things showing up. It's like Video Treasures is gone, but whatever's replaced them seems really cool.
Yeah,
And,
that's the same thing, I think, with a lot of collectors that started collecting hardcore around the DVD era, is that, as soon as you started seeing some of these cult horror movies hitting DVD, every time I picked one up, it had that little boat on the side. So at that point, I was buying everything, and I'm like, well, you know what? If it has the boat and I've never seen it, I'm buying it anyways because I'm going to trust.
So many people told me that they took a chance on some Eurocrime thriller or some film that they never heard of, but because Anchor Bay put it out, so maybe the chances are I'll like it, and that tells you've created a brand.
100%. I agree. And there's a lot of movies at that time. I was still a teenager, so my first time seeing maybe, I don't know, even something like The Stuff or something was I bought just based on that. And it's funny story camp. Cheerleader camp. But there's a funny story. When I was a kid, we had a home video that my uncle's a huge horror fan. He's the one who got me into horror. And he used to walk around with the video camera when we were real little, at holidays. He was the guy with the camcorder because he bought one and no one else could afford it, kind of thing. He was very into movies, digital, all this different kind of tech. And we had this home video for years of my brother and I as little kids on Christmas and stuff. And after the home video was over, it transitioned to whatever was on that tape that he taped before he taped our stuff. And it was the end of a movie, and it used to scare the shit out of my brother and I. And we never could figure out what this movie was. And I randomly bought a movie that had the Anchor Bay logo on it, and I watched it, and I called my brother over the way. I'm like, dude, I found the movie. And it was Manitou.
Oh, God.
Wow.
With the woman floating in space on the bed.
So, imagine, it's our whole movie's end, and then it, scrambles, and it goes
Where did
end
he
of
find
Manitou.
the Manitou to record
we were so shocked at what it was, and it took us until, probably maybe, the mid-2000s when that came out on DVD. I randomly bought it because it was Anchor Bay. Put it on for the first time, and when I saw that ending hit, I was having flashbacks.
And that was a little later though. That was because I remember we got that on the show to review.
That was 04, 05. It was actually right around the time I left.
I think it was 2006, maybe 2007.
Because that was part of a second deal of titles that we got from Studio Canal. Well, the Manitou. That's just funny that you mentioned it because even in context with the movie, that ending makes no fucking sense at all, along with everything else in that movie. But it's a topless woman in a bed floating through space, firing lasers at a midget, and you're just like,
it's one of those things.
There was a lot of drugs in the 70s, man.
It almost makes you feel like, I was high when I watched that. That couldn't have happened.
No, I was, and then try telling that to other people. Yeah, there's a topless chick on a bed, and she's floating through space, and she's firing lasers at a demon midget. It's like, okay, dude, sure. Are you all right?
The movie Abby.
You just sold a bunch of copies of this movie.
That
after hearing that, I'm like, you know what? I got to check this out. I don't remember that. I think I got a copy of that somewhere.
Oh, that movie is fucking nuts.
I saw it when I was a kid. I actually saw that in the movie theater.
Because it's William Girdler. He was actually from Louisville. And his movie, Abby, has never, ever been officially released.
No. Warner Brothers put a stop to that.
Did they destroy the film, or do they still have it?
No. The elements for the film are still in storage, but there's still a legal thing about release, which is ridiculous because there's been so many Exorcist ripoffs. That one in particular,
dude,
I don't know why.
A cleaned up version of that would be so killer.
I have a DVD of it. That thing's not legit.
No, it's a bootleg.
No, Girdler was an interesting dude. He did this whole series of movies there, and then he died in the helicopter accident.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Day of the Animals, Grizzly, 3 on a Meat Hook. I mean,
3 on a Meat Hook. Has that ever had a release other than VHS?
Someone I thought put it out. I can't remember. But anyway, but no, the Manitou though, that one was just I remember they interviewed Graham Masterson who wrote the book, and he said, "What'd you think of the movie?"
Well, imagine me at like 8 years old seeing that at the end of our home videos. My brother he was 6, and we used to see that, and we were like, it was just embedded in our
rewound
brain.
it and watched.
And then you get the movie goes, oh, finally this ending's going to make sense. 90 minutes later, not so much.
I don't even think we made it that far because it scared the shit out of us so much. I just remember like the Native American thing, like running around and
there's also at one point a guy throws a typewriter at the Manitou and it explodes. Yeah. And I'm like, was this a gas pop?
Better and better all the time.
It's bonkers, but like that's the thing. My brother and I were at that age. We're used to like freaking American Tail, and all of a sudden this thing pops on the end of our home.
That's a good double feature for you.
I think
it never left.
The next Red Shirt Pictures release.
Well, no, Kino already brought it back out. Actually,
bummer.
So yeah, but that's just and then the demon is called Miss Kamakas. I remember that. And it's like, hold Miss Kamakas, hold Manitou. It's like, what the ever loving fuck is this? Yeah, but that's one of those movies where it's like cocaine's a wonderful drug.
It's bonkers, all right.
Jesus Christ. So yes,
you gotta double feature that with Extra, and you're gonna have yourself a good.
Oh my God, yes. Oh God.
So, trying to get back on track here. Evil Dead.
Yeah, sorry.
Evil Dead.
So the initial releases were $99 on DVD.
Mm-hmm.
The Book of the Dead was like early 2002. At what point in time did you guys hear about the initial idea, and how long of a process was that to get everything kind of together? Because there was a lot to it for sure.
Well, I can talk about the origin, the initial outreach that happened. Actually, and it relates to one of those covers you're holding, one of those VHS covers. Mm-hmm. You see the one with the illustration with the skeleton hands holding the head up?
Yeah.
I can send you a JPEG of that too, sir.
Yeah. That is a painting done by Tom Sullivan called Beloved. And that is not specifically an Evil Dead thing. That is just one of the drawings that he had done that was sort of kind of at least as I recall the story is, it's sort of an inspirational thing, like here's what I can do that, to get the job, or, and that image was part of a bunch of images that they got delivered to use on the release of Evil Dead from Sam or from Renaissance Pictures. Tom didn't know about that, and he did not like that very much. He was very pissed about that. And he wanted, I don't know if he was going to, I don't think he was ever going to sue Anchor Bay, but he had beef with Anchor Bay as a result of that. And I understood it, why he was upset about it. Jay had come up with the idea of doing the book. And this was as far back as right after I got to the company. So this was like late summer of 2000 when he first had the idea. And by complete coincidence, I was going to the first ever Cinema Wasteland, which was at the end of September in 2000, which was primarily a Dawn of the Dead reunion, but Tom Sullivan was going to be there. And Tom's been at pretty much every one since then. He missed a few around the pandemic, but he's back.
He lives near there or something, right?
He lives in Marshall, Michigan, which is about an hour and a half away from me here. He's actually a little bit further away from it than I am, but it's, he's not... He doesn't have to fly in or anything.
For a long time, he was doing like every Cinema Wasteland show, though, I think.
He was one of the regulars there. And so this is the first show, and he brought all his collectibles and everything. He brought his artworks, all the props that he had created for Evil Dead. I mean, he did this whole it's the Evil Dead Museum. He brings it twice every year.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. And Jay basically said, well, you're going to go to the show anyway. I want you to be our emissary and meet with Tom Sullivan and see if you can bring peace in our time to this whole thing, because we want to do this Book of the Dead thing. And we need him on board, because Tom controls the copyright on the Book of the Dead. It's used in the movie, but he retained the copyright to all his work from the movie. And so, we couldn't do that. We were not going to do this without him being on board. So I go down there like an ambassador from a foreign country, and I introduced myself, and Tom was a little wary of me at first. He was just like, oh, you're from Anchor Bay, huh? He didn't, I don't think I think he thought, oh, what's going to happen now? And I talked to him, and over the course of the weekend, he and I got along really well, and basically at the end of that weekend, he agreed, okay, we'll, as long as we can work something out for the use of the beloved cover, we can work it into doing something with the Book of the Dead. Because I think it's a good idea, and I'll sculpt a new cover for it. And so this was just initial discussions. That leads into 2001, and then 2001 is when all of the production, it was a year. It was an entire year. From pretty much the time that we started really moving on it to the time we got the final samples. And
yeah.
And so
I
Tom,
have a question.
Oh yeah.
I have a question for you. Now, I actually am not involved at all at this point.
No, not yet.
I might be aware of it tangentially, but this is all way before it would actually hit the creative department. In the initial discussion of the Book of the Dead, was it always planned to have a book? Because I have the prototypes.
Mm-hmm.
And the early prototypes, so for example, and it's hard to see, this is one of the early ones.
Yeah.
And they're boxes.
Yeah. Well, we were the idea was to get it as close to a book as possible.
Right. So this one actually even has that case in it.
Yeah.
So that again there, I don't think I got that one.
Yeah, that's Mike has the evolutionary chart basically of the Evil Dead.
Yeah, and this is now it's interesting because so this one is sort of I think the first version.
Yeah.
And you can see it's
framed in a black box.
A sculpt that is embedded in, and then a sculpt on the back. But this is just a wooden box.
Oh,
right?
I do remember some of the thing. What we wanted to do we wanted to do the book as much as we possibly could, but we weren't sure if we could do an actual book or not, because no one had ever done anything like this before, and also. What materials do we use, and where are we going to make it, stuff like that.
Right.
So
now, then I actually at one point have this, which is just the rubber.
Mm-hmm.
So this is an early example of what eventually the cover would become.
Right.
So I think this was an early attempt, and like you can see in here that it's actually got a lip that it would wrap around something.
Yeah, and that's much heavier rubber than what we ended up.
This is a real.
That would have probably cost a lot.
Oh, that would have been.
Make.
Yeah, that would have been. Yeah.
This is like latex from a rubber mask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the initial few months after that, we're basically trying to figure out how much can we do, and it was budgeting it out. And then we were communicating with a guy named Jerry Korn, who was a marketing.
Here's another one.
Yeah.
Now, see, I just want to interject and show something.
No, yeah.
So the earlier ones, you'll notice this is a different sculpt.
Yeah.
Right.
These are all a very different.
They're based on the Evil Dead 2 book.
And this is, this one's actually nicely painted. This is very nice.
Yeah, no, I
remember
that.
But then at some point we get this, which is the final image. This is the actual sculpt that was used in the same year. But again, we're still experimenting with that jewel case format.
Yeah.
So it hadn't locked in. It took a while for it to find its final form.
Dude, those things are amazing to have those. It's mind blowing to me
they got passed
that you
down.
still have those prototypes. It's just boggling my mind here.
They sat around on shelves for years because.
Well, I mean, at this point, the Jay would have been involved in this,
mm-hmm.
and then the marketing manager, the brand manager, I don't remember her name.
Joan.
Joan, but I remember her last name.
Yeah.
And she was involved in the project most of the way. Like by the time I started, she had been
all the negotiations, all the sort of initial contacts, and all that Joan did.
Yeah.
And then she left.
Yeah, she got pregnant. Actually.
Yeah, she left the company,
and then she went on maternity, and she decided she wasn't coming back.
Yeah. And
they brought in Tom Bambard to run the horror division at that point.
Yeah.
And but it was well underway. Like at that point, it was packaging was, I mean, not complete, but was basically in its final stages. Because I remember I was very concerned.
Right.
Very often when you have a new marketing manager come in on a project, they will decide they need to put their stamp on it,
right,
and change everything. And I'm just like, if he starts changing, and I remember I went to my boss Gail, and I was like, I remember I didn't really want this project, as I recall. I got it because it was a big project, and I had done a lot of the bigger projects recently for Anchor Bay, and they had faith in my ability to deliver it. But they're huge, and they're annoying, and they're a bear, and the pain in the ass, and they're really, really hard work. And everybody's got putting their 2 cents in. I mean, this is something that the president of the company is going to look at every single thing you do. Mm-hmm. Most of the stuff that I did, it doesn't get past Jay, even if it gets to Jay. So something this important has got a lot of eyes on it. So last thing I wanted was somebody coming in.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, Mike was dragged kind of kicking and screaming into it because it was
I did not want to work on this project because also, I knew that it was going to be a nightmare.
Because not only is, there's just a lot of moving parts to this, then you've got Tom Sullivan's part of it. Now, what Tom did is he did a flat relief sculpture of the book cover. And this was it was a big heavy piece of wood, and he sculpted the book cover, and then that thing was sent to China for them to do a mold of. And then that's how they started making the book covers. But you got to remember, this is 2002. We didn't have Zoom. We didn't have email that could handle anything large at all. We had file servers, but even those were slow. The graphics department
didn't have email.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it was.
We were still getting copies.
That's wild, yeah.
Oh yeah, it was still the wild west days of the internet. So we were mostly doing this through phone calls and fax. That's how we were communicating. So we're
FedEx.
Oh yeah,
and FedEx, we would FedEx. We would burn CDs and FedEx them places. Like that's how you got stuff printed.
So we're working through Jerry Korn in New York, who's then working with China. And the guy we were dealing with in China, his name was Sammy, and he was
Sammy Al. Sammy Al was his name.
Sammy Al, yeah. And we were dealing. So we're going. So already there's another layer of communication, and another layer to this whole process. And over the course of 2001, we would get something from them, and we would go, okay, well, this is right. This is right. These 5 things are wrong. And this is not even remotely right. And you completely misunderstood what we said here. And then we make our notes, go send it back. We would then get the next thing back. All 5 of the things that we said were wrong were fixed. But then 2 of the things that were previously right were now wrong. And then something else that was completely out of the blue. Like, why did they, what? I mean, so you would just be like, oh my dear God. And we weren't getting these things back every day. It would take a week, 2 weeks. Yeah. To get
now, here's things. I have another example. So these, and I can't quite tell the difference. So these are actually what.
Oh, I've got,
pieces are like.
Oh, you got one too?
Oh, he's got one too.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the wrap, right? For the book.
This is the wrap.
Actual wrap. This is the.
Now, actually, as I was going through mine, one of mine has this on.
Man, these things still smell great.
Yeah.
His is a little darker, looks like, or something, right?
Well, see, these would be different samples.
Yeah.
So they would send different samples, and we would approve. So, like, I could see that, like.
This is an actual.
How many samples you got over there, Mikey Ortiz?
This is an actual final production.
Three different ones. They look at least a little bit different. Hard to tell. Like this one has a little bit more detail.
Just so you know, Christmas is coming up. I'll send you my address.
$10,000.
No shit, man. Like I would have no idea what that would go for online. Like that would go.
Yeah, these are the proofs. And you know what's interesting is so all of this stuff would have been in the possession of Joan, who ran horror.
Yes.
And then when she left, her office was taken over by Tom, who ran horror. Then when he left, horror kind of got merged in to theatrical, sort of under the same VP. I believe. I could be wrong about that. It's been a while ago. Someone will correct me, I'm sure, from Anchor Bay, because some Anchor Bay people actually listen to these. And then when Tom leaves, though, it then goes to Ryan Hicks. who I hope we could talk Ryan into coming on, because he'll have a lot of good stories too.
There's been a couple people reach out to me about wanting to come on from the company, and he might have been one of them.
Because he ran horror, like actually he corrected a credit. And when we were talking about Reanimator, and we talked about going into Bambard's office and seeing the highlighter, Ryan corrected me, and yeah, that was well after Bambard regarded. It was Ryan's office at that point. So yeah, hopefully he can come on, because he'll know a lot of stuff too.
Now, looking in hindsight,
and then then it goes to me. So all of these people have actually been in possession of these, as it just got handed down from different people in Anchor Bay, and yeah, it's kind of the last remnants of that.
Of all the different designs, though, that we've seen there, different concepts for the Book of the Dead, the one that they went with, do you think that was the best choice?
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
At the time when it came out, right?
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely.
But I
it was
mean,
the best.
Mine's starting to freaking dry out, man. I don't know what the hell.
Well, that's what I was just going to ask. A lot of them are drying out. Why are why are your wraps?
See the spine.
Why do those wraps seem so flexible and with it? Like, is it the same material you're using? Like, what is the difference between?
So this is one of my copies, right? But then I have other copies that are perfect. This is still
like, why is that so in such good shape, Mike? But the discs, like the books are.
Well, this was in a drawer underneath some stuff.
Not handled, probably out of the sunlight.
It wasn't out in the air.
Sure.
Like,
but if you look at, like, I have a bunch of these.
Yeah.
And I have I have one that's completely falling apart, but then I've got a bunch that all would have come from the Anchor Bay offices. I think they changed, they changed coating, or they changed rubber with subsequent runs. Like, that's my guess. And it might not have even been a choice on Anchor Bay's part.
What's funny is
I've got these shrink wrapped ones.
Yeah, I've still got a couple of those.
Holy shit! Hey, man, Christmas, Christmas.
I just found $10,000.
Dude, like,
how many do you have of those right now?
So I was looking. I have 2 sealed, and then I have like a big stat.
A big stat.
Another one. So I've got like 4 copies, and I got another one upstairs. The weird thing is, I used to have a bunch of these, because we got them all signed. For the Evil Dead premiere. We had a bunch of them signed, and they sat in a box under Tom Bambard's desk. I don't know if he realized that I was aware that there was a box of signed Evil Deads under his desk. So I would periodically just poach a couple of them. Well, I had like at least 5 signed copies at one point, and I know I gave some away. And I wanted to look for one today to show it here, and I don't have a single copy. I don't know what happened to them.
I know I've got a book that Tom Sullivan custom painted.
Yeah.
And I know it's in here somewhere. I forgot to go get it, but it's signed by Ellen Sandweiss. I know that.
Oh, nice.
Very cool.
We had, at one point, we had books come on our ass in that office.
Oh, yeah. There were boxes and boxes.
Oh, yeah. But
actually,
Mike's job on this was interesting.
Yeah, see, they don't get you high anymore.
No. Well, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
I remember it was on my hands. I was like,
"Oh well, we'll get to that. That's a funny story." Mike had and another reason I think Mike didn't want to take the job, because he also realized he was dealing he wasn't dealing so much with the cover. That was all being handled. You know, he was dealing with some of the logistics of trying to figure out how we get this thing done. But China was making those. Mike had to do the pages, and Tom Sullivan had provided all this artwork. But Mike's the one who had to figure out how to fit all that shit in there.
Right. I had to lay it out. I had to paint. I mean, he provided really nice high-res scans, and, you know, I kick myself a little bit now. I actually think I do have some of the digital files, but I remember I had the actual original disc. It has his nice big copyright stamp on it. We had that in Anchor Bay for ages, and I don't know if it was one of the things that I grabbed. But yeah, he provided it on a disc. They're really nice, but they were good scans, high quality, but they weren't entirely formed. Like, he painted them to what he thought it would be, but, you know, the final book winds up being
it's a DVD case
in the DVD
footprint,
right? So his proportions are a little off. There's some tweaking that we have to do, and and a little bit of color correction. But I knew Tom would be pretty picky about the color shift if there was, so we left that to a minimum. But we did, knowing with the paper that we're using, having to build in some margin for error because this is being printed in China, so we can't do a press check.
No,
like a very important product. Most of our stuff was printed like at Pepple Brothers down the street. We could go, drive over there and do a press check if it was important. But this stuff, we just crossing our fingers and hoping that it prints right.
Right.
Now, the initial run though, like how many did they have made? You guys
200,000.
Whoa.
And I remember because it actually says
It says limited edition.
Limited edition across the top.
Limited to how many?
You notice it's not numbered.
No number.
And but we may have told this story for I don't know.
We've
it was basically meant limited to the number that we can sell. And there was some discussion. I was insisting it should be special edition. Bambard was like limited edition. It doesn't matter. It's a marketing term. It's not.
Yeah, and there was some discussion about the paper color because we wanted to have kind of a weathered look.
Yeah,
but we didn't want to go too yellow with it because then it would be, it's just like then it looks kind of phony.
Right.
And so there was like what kind of color do we have on it, and then what will the paper type be? So like if you look at the book, a couple of the pages are kind of glossy, but then the artwork itself is on more of a rougher stock. And I thought that was and we deliberately, and this was a very, very smart choice on our part. You'll notice there are blank pages in there.
Yeah.
Specifically for autographs, because we knew people were going to bring those to shows.
I did.
Right.
We knew that was going to happen.
And, we got a bunch of them signed there as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I still, to this day, when I'm at shows, I still people walking around with those things.
So
and
cool,
beautiful artwork by Tom.
Yeah, no, it was just incredible. But Mike did a wonderful job in figuring out how to reformat that stuff. Because Tom's illustrations were made for...
see here, this is probably a little...
moved in.
Yeah,
nice. Get the Tom Sullivan autograph.
Yeah,
yeah.
Because Tom's book was originally a little wider than that.
Yeah,
so it was
you could see a lot of these had to have some extra space. But Tom's a pro. He's smart. He left a lot of that in there. So I mean, some people will paint up until the edge. Tom knew to give me enough bleed.
We did. We did do at one point during this process. We got one of those rubber covers like Mike was just holding up. And we had the pages too. Or we printed out the pages at the office or something like that. And we thought, well, we have the pages and we have the cover. Maybe we can dummy up a book using this. And so we got the rubber cover and we used cardboard.
And we just got a piece of corrugated cardboard.
And a light layer of bubble wrap around it. Glued that, and then we glued the cover to that, folded around, glued that, and then we had the pages in there. And then I had the bright idea, let's make the pages look even more weathered. Let's burn the edges of the paper so that it looks like it's been, this book's been through some shit. Now, in order to get this book put together, we used super glue, hot glue.
We couldn't find anything that really held
a spray adhesive
rubber to the stuff very well.
Yeah.
We had rubber cement. That was the first thing.
That was one. Yeah.
We used like super glue. We used all these different kinds of adhesives.
And I'm there with a fucking lighter trying to burn.
And like flammable stuff.
Yeah.
And not just that. And you're leaving out the most important part is we're sitting there applying all of these paints, breathing it in, basically getting stoned
off our asses
because we're just inhaling all of these probably very unhealthy and toxic fumes sitting in a corner at the Anchor Bay offices. And I believe kind of late at night, like it might have even been after hours by the time we're finishing this.
Yeah, we were going, actually, I remember this was the night we went to Oktoberfest over at Temple Brothers. So, and then we went there and got drunk. So it was like, so we're already wandering into Temple Brothers because the printing facility would hold this thing. They did it for a couple of years called Oktoberfest, and they brought in steins, beer, barrels of beer. And the first year you could just go up and get your own.
Right,
cups.
They had taps available to everyone, so we just sat there and drank like
beer.
So much.
Yeah, and then the second year they had people there regulating the beer for people.
But it was
But we got high off this fucking book we made, then went to Oktoberfest and drank ourselves stupid. And then we went to Hooters afterwards, I remember.
Oh, hell yeah. I love Hooters.
So I don't remember much of it.
Me too. I'm a Hooter fan.
This was the origin of someone who would emerge at many, many Anchor Bay functions, but that was the beginning of Angry Mike. If you remember.
Oh, yes. Oh,
I would get drunk and I would become extremely belligerent.
Yeah, and it all came to a head in one particular moment. Temple Brothers, our printer, with the Oktoberfest, they would do this a raffle, basically. You get a little ticket or whatever at the beginning of the night, and you wander around and drink your fucking beer, and then at the end, everybody would gather, and they would raffle off like television. I mean, nice stuff. You know, they would give you like the televisions, and I think there was like gift certificates and various little things and stuff like that. Eventually, I mean, and the problem was Anchor Bay won a lot of stuff because we were the big client they had. So 70% of the people that were there were us. And we're standing there, and people from Anchor Bay are winning left and right. In fact, I think Aaron won 2 things that night. Yeah. And Mike's standing there, and he's just getting more and more sour as more and more people are starting to win stuff. And I haven't won anything yet. I'm just standing there like, oh, man, okay. And then all of a sudden, my number comes up, and I go up, and it was like a little CD radio or something, and I came back. Now, I come back, and I'm just like, hey, look, I won. Keep in mind, during all of this, there's, people are talking and chatting.
There's a bunch of loud, talking, drunk people filling up this place.
Mike sees me with like, I won this. Mike goes, fuck you. And at that exact moment, right before he said fuck you, everybody just happened to stop talking.
Yeah, just dead silence.
And so this fuck you echoed around this huge production floor, and everyone just went, holy shit. Fucking Ortiz is pissed.
Wow.
It wasn't a fuck you, it was more like a fuck you, Q. In fact, if you go to Temple Brothers around 2:00 in the morning on any given night and just listen very carefully, you can still hear the fuck you echoing around the building. So but boy, it was like fuck you, Q.
So yeah, I'm sure the toxic fumes had something to do with that.
Yes.
But prior to that, we actually did get a sample, a very early unpainted sample of the cover, and we did the same sort of thing. And that was early unpainted, and it's actually a very different rubber. That's why this rubber worked.
Yeah.
And then we just printed out. We just used blank pages, and then, like Michael was saying, there's 2 different kinds of stock, and the reason for that is it was not just for the artwork on to make it look nicer, but the heavier stock was there because we had to do things like have a sleeve.
Yeah.
So this is paper, and then it switches to a cardstock.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually, and we had to figure all this out. We had to figure out where everything went because we wound up gluing like an insert sleeve, so we needed this to be heavy.
Yeah, because we gave up on the plastic tray idea.
Right. We just figured we're going to slide it in, and then like this was a sleeve for the booklet.
Right.
And so to figure out all that went, we actually built this mock-up, and this was handmade. And so this is, so you see, it's an unpainted gray. This is a heavy rubber, like that original rubber.
Yeah.
It sticks really, really well. But then if you look, this is just, I mean, you can still see Evil Dead, Book of the Dead, handwritten. And this is just a manila folder. Like that was our cardstock. You can still see the little logo from the manila folder. So it would be paper, and then it switches to a regular cardstock. Yeah. And then back to, this is just held together with tape. And at one point, now there 2 discs at one point, Michael, because
there were. We
have a glue spot for 2. So at one point, this was a 2-disc set.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of a good transition. Is that going to be transitioned into the Within the Woods?
Well, there is one additional story on the packaging that I do need to tell. Mm-hmm. As Mike is showing you, we have this page. Now, keep in mind, we keep going back and forth. We got damn near fully finished final samples at one point. They sent us might have been about half a dozen of them. And everything was where it was supposed to be. All the pages, they look just like the books you have now, except for one difference. If you would open it up, the pages were attached to the cover with 3 garden variety desk staples in the spine. 1, 2, and 3. And I'm in my office and I'm going through one of the books. And everybody else is gathered in the front conference room to discuss, are we done? Can we give it the go ahead and just, we're ready to begin production on these. And I open up the book and I see it's 3 staples that are holding all these pages to this cardboard book, the cover, even through the rubber and everything. And I'm like, as I'm pulling the pages, it starts getting a little weak. I'm like, Jesus. And as I went to turn the pages, all the pages came out in my hand. They just pulled right out of the cover. Because the staples didn't curve in and then grip. They just went straight in.
Right.
And it's like, oh, this is a big fucking problem. I'm barely opening this thing and these pages are falling out. So I go up to the front conference room with a book in hand. And I say, hey, and I'm at the one end of the conference table. I remember Tom was at the other, and there's some other marketing people, and a couple other folks were in there. And I'm like, hey, guys, we have a problem here. And I kind of put a damper on everybody because everyone's like, oh, we're finally done. Oh, Felsher, what's wrong? And I'm like, we can't use staples for the binding on this thing. It's not strong enough. These things are going to be popping out left and right. And Tom starts going through the book, and he's like... I could tell he was kind of pretending to pull at the pages, but he's like, no, this is fine. Michael, this is fine. These are going to sit on people's shelves mostly, blah, 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 blah. And as he's talking, I take the book. I take one of the books on the table. I grip all the pages like this, and I hold it, and I just flip. The cover flies off the book across the table and lands kind of in front of Tom, and everyone just goes, yeah, okay, so we got to fix that. We got to do something about that.
So what did you change it to? What has it done? How is it in there now?
That's another thing. They changed it to an actual fabric.
They sewn in.
They sewn in.
Like
it's
a
sewed
bonding
into
or whatever.
Yeah, which was great. That solved the problem. Interestingly enough, when they sent us back that, because of course we had to go back to China, says no, this needs to be stitched into the cover. So once they figured out how to do that, they sent the book back, and we got it, and it was great. I mean, it was stitched in, and it was strong. The only thing was they had used a red fabric for the stitch. So the stitch really stood out. When you open up the book, you could see the stitching in the book. But at that point, I remember Mike and I were just like, yeah, it's not great. I wish they had used a yellow stitch to match the cover so you don't see the spine. But is it really, do we really want to go through yet another back and forth?
It's not that bad.
Yeah, is at this point everything's right except for a color on the stitching.
And every single if we go back to it one more time, we
something else,
changing something else.
Right. So at that point we had it right, except for basically an aesthetic thing. A minor.
You can only tell when you look at the center spread too.
Right.
That's another thing.
Would we have ever gotten any complaints about it? No one would have cared. But it was one of those things where it's like, oh, this is all going to. But you know what? At this point, we've gone through 10 books in 12 months of fucking production. We're done. So we just sent it out. We never gave them any note about it. We never mentioned a thing about it. It was just like, just let it go. Don't introduce any more variables into this fucking thing. And then when we got our final books back, the ones that were actually fully packaged and ready to go, we opened up the book on their own with no input from us whatsoever. They matched the color of the thread with the book. And it's yellow. You can't see it at all. And honestly, if you had given me $1 million, I don't think I would have been as happy as I was. Because I went over to Mike, I was like, Mike, they matched the... I was so happy about a thread color. Like, look, they matched it. They did it. I was like, oh my God.
it's refreshing to hear that too, because I feel like nowadays a lot of people like will put out these cool editions, but there's always some corners that are being cut, right? And I feel that the fact that you guys were in that depth and detail on the littlest things, it shows a lot. And I hope that, and I feel like, especially with you, Felsher, is you probably are the same way with your own stuff now.
Oh, well, Mike can attest to that. I'm very nitpicky on stuff. But this was one of those things where I could have easily lived with this.
Right. And that's because at this point we just needed it done. But you know what's interesting, Michael, and I didn't realize this until today, I have that version.
You've got the red stitching in there?
Well, let's see if we can see that here.
Yeah, so you can see it very clearly.
I can actually put them right.
Yeah.
I don't know how well.
Yeah, but
you can see the difference on the other one's darker. Yeah.
Again,
it's a reddish, brownish.
Right.
It still fits the aesthetic, but it's noticeable. And then I actually noticed there's one other thing, and I do kind of remember this. There was one other note with that. Is this one? There's no padding on this spine.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So they just put like a piece of padding here and a piece of padding here, and you can feel the cardboard directly underneath here. So we did have them fix that.
Yeah, they did put that, but that was an easy thing.
But then this thing, we were like, let's not worry about that. They're going to get that wrong. But and they corrected that on their own.
Yeah.
Now, how are you storing this stuff, Mike? The fact that all these prototypes are still in one piece like this, like. You would think that the rubber hasn't changed, so why are all those prototypes?
They're in a climate-controlled vault.
Like are they like
vacuum
sealed somewhere? Like,
well, I mean, if you think about it, they sat until 2016 in somebody's desk. When Anchor Bay closed, that's when they left Anchor Bay and came here. But literally, that's when they just sat in the office of whoever.
Which is very interesting too. Yeah.
Well, a lot of it's the same thing with like vintage, like latex masks as well. So a lot of that, especially if it's thinner latex, it really just depends on how you're displaying it, where it's at, the temperature.
If it's not out in the open, in a drawer, you're fine most of the time.
And honestly, I mean, I hate to say it, but the stuff that I showed you, the prototypes, always much higher quality.
Oh yeah, much thicker stuff. Yeah,
like we approve. This particular rubber, and then they maybe, like I said, I think that initial run, some of these I have held up really well. I think after that initial run,
they thinned them out a little bit.
And they changed the formula to a substitute of something that's a little bit cheaper that we cannot tell the difference. But 20 years later, you can tell the difference. So all of these things, I think, are just small cost-cutting factors that go on probably at the factory level. Or it's the coating. Like I noticed the ones that I have that are nice, they actually have a slightly more oily coating. Mm-hmm. So maybe there's a lacquer that went on them that eventually we're like, we could save 3 cents per if we take that off.
Right.
And no one will know the difference.
I mean, these do feel like they would be expensive to make. So therefore to have,
would you say that's why we were doing them in China. So,
Yeah.
Well, and they were, I think at the time in Best Buy, they were like $30 or something like that.
They were $40, something like that. Yeah. Okay. They were $39.95 or.
Yeah. And I remember like one of the things that also kind of, and again, this is, I guess we're going to get a little sort of inside baseball here. But I remember talking with Bambard and talking about, the Book of the Dead and Jerry Corn. And I think we talked about this when we did Bad Taste as a digi. We paid $3 a piece. Mm-hmm. And then when we did, and then the 7 one was 75 cents. And in talking to Tom was like, well, yeah, that's one of the things is Jerry Corn was a salesman. Mm-hmm. So he built in a lot of profit margin. And Joan negotiated like a marketing person. And Tom negotiated like a salesman.
Yeah.
So Tom will bust his balls to like you want our business, so don't try this sort of shit.
Yeah.
And so Tom, was able to get good pricing on this stuff that that wouldn't have happened if you weren't the kind of guy that can beat up on your sales guy a little bit.
And it also helped that we were doing 200,000 of them.
I remember when this was announced, there was like an ad and maybe a magazine or something. And the big deal was not only just the look of this and how it looked like the Book of the Dead. Yeah. But then it tells you that also you will first time ever, we will get Within the Woods. Now, I know when Mike said there would look like there might have been a 2-disc option here. Was that a second disc? Was that just going to be a feature? I guess not, because and that's just one disc right there on the.
This was early on.
Image.
I think now that Mike reminded me of the 2-disc thing, I think there was talk of doing some additional extras, but I think there was also, I wanted to say there was a talk of doing a soundtrack.
Well, okay.
I seem to recall there was some discussion of that, but it didn't last very long. It was because we were going to be putting so much in it, and I remember Jay saying the content is not going to sell this so much. It's the packaging. The packaging is the star.
Although we did put a shitload of good content in there.
Oh no, there was. I mean, it was very good, but at the end of the day, people are going to buy this because it's it's a prop replica essentially.
A soundtrack is not going to sell a single more.
No.
No one's going to buy it in addition.
Yeah, and we didn't have enough extras for. We didn't have enough extras because Within the Woods isn't that long.
But now, there's 2 versions, right? The widescreen and the full frame.
Full frame, yeah.
Are those both on here?
I honestly don't remember.
I think so. I think
look on the back of the cap.
I wonder if at one point they were going to,
because it's Evil Dead's like an open mat or whatever, right? So the widescreen is actually less. You see less of the actual picture.
I seem to recall we left it. We did a widescreen, I think, for
this is widescreen presentation.
Mine's widescreen.
Yeah,
I'm almost positive it has one of those boxes where you can pick, though.
Yeah, probably does. I might.
But maybe at one point there might have been.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, whatever.
Yeah, that's just lots of discussion.
Yeah,
but that wasn't that controversy too, because the Elite one
was full frame.
Yeah, and then the original Anchor Bay was the widescreen, right?
No, that was full frame too, as I recall. It wasn't widescreen until this.
Well, there was some kind of controversy with those 2 transfers, though. I think I don't remember.
At least
exactly.
It's been a while. I can't quite. Yeah. Maybe there was, but so maybe it was. Maybe we were going to do a widescreen and a full frame disc at some point.
Because we eventually did, I think, didn't we? Somewhere.
I can't remember.
Maybe in the Ultimate version.
Maybe. Yeah.
The big thing, though.
Yes, we did on the Ultimate one. We did. Yes.
As you can see on this ad right here, on sale March the 5th of 2002. And I did a little bit of research here, Slippy, because there was an announcement that you made about Within the Woods on January the 15th, less than 2 months before the release date.
It was very last minute, and I'll tell you how last minute it was. Everything was going fine. The discs, everything was done. The books were being made.
This was completed and printed.
Yep. Yes, those caps all printed and done.
Wait, do you have that on your thing?
No, that wasn't.
I thought maybe it printed on him one.
No, but those caps were done. All those caps were printed. All of them.
200,000
of those fucking yellow.
What happened to those?
Thrown out.
Yeah.
No, nobody kept one.
Well,
Come
no,
on.
No, they never made it to Anchor Bay offices.
No, they were just in the printing.
They were trashed at the printer.
Now
they wouldn't have said there might have been a small number of them that came to
but we never even saw finished samples. It was that sudden. So this is all Friday on whatever week it was. The caps are done, the packaging's ready, the books have shown up wherever they're supposed to be. They're just waiting to replicate the discs starting Monday. They're going into replication. The masters are done. They are done. And on Monday, they're going to start replicating discs and put all these things together, and Books of the Dead are done. Come in on Monday. I call it Black Monday. Jay is sitting in his office like, what is going on? We have to pull Within the Woods from the disc. What? What I was told was that Sam Raimi was unaware that we were including Within the Woods on the disc. We had gotten it from someone else from the production. And Sam had either not been informed, so there had been a miscommunication. And Sam, and keep in mind, at this time, Spider-Man's getting ready to come out. He's been distracted making that movie and everything. He finds out, and either he thought, oh my God, this thing's coming out and it has music from Patton and Planet of the Apes in it. Or I don't know what it looks like, or maybe he was embarrassed about it. I don't know what motivated him, But he basically called up Jay and said, no fucking way, that's got to come off. We had to emergency call the disc facility or Crest National and say, stop! We got to pull it. We had to scrap 200,000 of those yellow caps. Had to go in the fucking trash. Mike had to emergency redo the back, take Within the Woods off the back, and resubmit it that day because we had to get them printed again. And
keep in mind, this is that same stuff is going over to the UK.
Yeah.
Oh, all of our files, so they have to do the same thing.
Yeah, so they have, because it was simultaneous release.
And we had to do it. We did a French version.
Yeah, for Canada. Yeah,
all of that had to be changed.
Yeah, so Les Within the Woods had to come off.
Yeah, and there was a UK version as well.
Oh yeah. So all this stuff has to happen on Monday. So that the revised cap has to go out and start getting printed. Crest National, they essentially, if you could picture a hand reaching in and ripping Within the Woods off the disc, but they did it so quickly because they had to get the disc going. We had that street date to make, and this was maybe early February, mid-February, because we had to make that date. Mm-hmm. They took the thing off the disc and they changed the front menu where it would have been on the special features. But that header card that explained what Within the Woods was, where it came from in the score, stayed on the disc.
Yep.
You couldn't access it through the menus, but if you put it in your computer and looked at it like a data disk, you could find, and they did. People found it very quickly, and so there were rumors for years that somewhere buried on the disc was Within the Woods, and it was not auctioned.
Well, yeah, the rumor was they didn't take it off the disc, they just took it off the menu.
Right, which was not true.
So it was still accessible, it's just they removed a button on a menu.
Yeah, but
they were doing Easter eggs back then. I mean, that's
we did a lot of Easter eggs, but that was one we were were not going to leave that on.
Now, all of this comes at a financial cost.
Oh yeah,
to reprint all of that, right?
Yeah,
and we couldn't just absorb that. Something has to go. And so the booklet that I designed,
had the gold. That's right.
The liner notes to. You can see this has this nice gold ink. This was supposed to be
foil,
a gold foil stamp. This was supposed to be a really expensive, nice-looking piece, and they pulled the plug on that. And I was so pissed because this was so.
It would
the
look
reality
nice.
Is. The Book of the Dead itself, and I'm just being honest here, and I'm on here as the designer of the Book of the Dead. I took Tom Sullivan's stuff, put it in a digital document, and sent it to China. That was my contribution, except for a few things. Like I did a couple illustrations. I did, the chapters and stuff like that. But basically, that's his thing that I helped him get made. And this was going to be like my contribution. As a designer, this was my work. And so it was its own book. Michael wrote these great liner notes. We actually made it look like an old book. And we went to Thomas Video.
Oh, that's right.
To take photographs. Like we actually took photographs with a crappy camera of laser discs of all this sort of stuff, of old versions. Like this shot here, you can see of the book coming out. That's
from their shelves. They had Evil Dead on the shelf, yeah.
So we put all this work into this book, and that gold foil stamp was going to be the nice, topper, and that gets pulled, and I was just pissed. I was furious that day. I was like, why is it my thing has to get funded? Why can't somebody else have to?
You hear around the Anchor Bay office, fuck you.
Yeah, yeah, no shit. Yeah, it drifted over from Temperament.
But and also just that kind of like we especially after the approval thing, we thought we're in the end zone. We're done.
Yeah, that's always the worst.
We're good. And
what a cool release, but what a disaster of a production of this, huh?
It was one of those things where it was, and also keep in mind there are ads out that we cannot take back.
Right.
Things have run in magazines. We've got stuff online that you just can't take it back. So we knew that even changing this up, there's going to be still people expecting to find this thing on there. And so it was just like, son of a bitch.
I'm going to reveal something for the first time. And Michael, you might not even know this. You probably don't. Put that ad back up for a second if you can.
Sure.
So you see that illustration of Ash sitting there with a Book of the Dead with the other book inside of it?
Yes.
That was illegal. We had no right to use that illustration. That was sent to us by a guy as part of a pitch for an Evil Dead comic book he wanted to produce.
Oh, that's
release, but we weren't in the comic book business, although we considered it briefly. And this was an illustration that he did as part of the pitch. He's reading the Book of the Dead, and inside that is the Evil Dead comic book that was part of the pitch. So I remember when we were doing this ad, I won't say who, but somebody said, here, this is great. This works. Let's use this in the ad. And I remember going, we can't use that legally. We don't own the rights to this image. And he was like, so what? What's he going to do, Sue?
Gee, I can't imagine who would have said that.
Very much in a ask for forgiveness sort of thing.
Now, did that guy ever sue?
We own the rights to the character, and I was like, yeah, but we don't own the rights to the illustration.
I don't know if that guy ever saw that ad or not.
I mean, he may not have. Who knows?
I'm sure he did.
But like, that is completely there is so much copyright. We talked about before, like the getting busted about Manhunter and some of that stuff. That was like all legit stuff usually. But man, we did so much copyright violation.
Oh God, we didn't. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the internet was very much in its infancy still at this point, though, and it's not like today where if something spreads online, like it's fire, like it out of nowhere. So
we begged, borrowed, and stole from any fucking thing we could. We also didn't have a lot of resources available to us for some of this stuff.
Actually, it's funny. I'm looking because I actually have some of the digital files, and so I see that image. And there's background textures. So if you look at the Evil Dead, the regular blue one, the packaging, and even that red kind of variant, the rental one, and all of the ads, they all have this sort of crackly texture, like that. We made that. That's that's basically you print out black on a complete black on a photocopy, and then
you crumple it up,
and then take it out and scan it. And so, like we said before, there are things in this packaging, things in here that are just stuff that we found around the office because we used whatever we could. We had no resources whatsoever, and somehow made it work.
But yeah, that was Black Monday was the day that whole decision.
And isn't it funny though? What are we, like 23, 24 years later? Within the Woods still never came out on anything.
Yeah, and I think a lot. I mean, honestly. Again, there haven't been that many more special editions of Evil Dead, really. And I think there was a period where they just didn't want to even approach Sam about it. Because after that, it was just like, well, clearly there's a problem here. Mm-hmm. And the last thing you want to... And also, Sam just got really busy. Because, he was doing Spider-Man movies left and right and big films. And so it was just one of those things where it's like, well, he pulled it. He must have had a reason. We'll leave it alone. Now I think, obviously, there will be a different situation. But... yeah, boy, that was bad. That was really bad. And there were a lot of people really pissed about that. And people who bought it going, where is it? I saw this ad saying it was. And it's like,
fucking liars.
Yeah. But you know what? What saved us? You know what saved us was it was such a cool package.
Right.
It was.
At the end, people were like, hey, it's not on there. Well, I would have bought it anyway. Because it was such a cool. Now, this all happens. Black Monday comes. We have to do this whole last minute scramble, and it was a very depressing thing for a lot of us. And again, like Mike said, it's like we were done.
Yeah,
we were fucking done. It was all out of our hands. We could just be relaxed, and then this comes back and bites us in the ass. So that added a little sour note to it. So we get the thing fixed. We get the caps redone. The books fixed, and they are manufactured. The books are manufactured. They're packaged. They're boxed up. Right before, like maybe a day or two before they're due to ship out to the retailers, we get 2 or 3 boxes in the office for us to personally QC, just to make sure there are no more last minute fucking problems. because I could tell you some stories of some last minute problems that did happen. Day of the Dead in fucking particular, where something did go wrong. But in any case, so I get a call, Tom Bambard in his office up front. Hey, the books are here. Cool. So I rush up to his office, and I'm sitting there. And his office was in the front of the building in a row of offices, relatively small little offices, not very big. He had room for a desk, a couple of chairs, and a bookshelf, and that's about it. And so I'm sitting in front of his desk, and he has like 2 or 3 of the boxes, and he opens up a box and said, okay, we're going to open up a box. We're going to go through 5 or 6 of these, and a couple of these in every box. I want you to open up the books, take out the booklet, make sure the DVD's right, flip through just do everything, Okay. Now, keep in mind, these things are fresh from China. They're right off the boat. They come straight to us. So we take off the cellophane. I open up the books, pull it out of the tray, flipping through the books. Disc is there. Boom. Okay, boom. Next one. Blah, 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 blah. Keep in mind, there's at least, these are latex rubber books with at least 2 or 3 different coats of paint on them, a lacquer on top of that, sealed up in a plastic tray with cellophane over it. After about 3 or 4 books, Tom and I are so fucking high because the fumes coming off of this shit. And the books are also, another thing we discovered is they wrap the thing in cellophane, but to keep the air from just getting trapped in there, there's a little tiny hole at the base of the book, right where the plastic starts on the tray, so that when they're compressed, the air will come out. And we're pressing down just to test that, and a blast of those chemicals comes out. Yeah, it was like getting a whippet or something. It was like, and so Tom and I are like, yeah, we're starting off. Book's good. By about the 4th or 5th book, we're like, books are good, man. Yeah,
the closest thing that I've experienced to that is if you get like one of those cheap Halloween masks from Temu.
Oh yeah.
It's the exact same thing.
Meanwhile, other marketing managers and other people are stopping by the office and saying, "Hey, are the books good? How do they turn out?" And both Tom and I are like, "Yeah, the books are really awesome, man. You want to get a hit off of this, man?" It's true. We are fucking high. And Mike saw us. Mike came in, and he was just like,
there's actually a lot of laughing going on.
Oh, yeah, I was like, yeah, guys, it's so good, man. We were so fucking high. And we started getting calls and complaints. Jesus, my book stinks. It's fine. We actually put out a statement. Put it on the windowsill, let it air out for a couple of days. It'll be
sit
fine.
outside for a little while,
yeah. And my whole thing was, what did you expect it to smell like? Strawberries and cream?
Right.
If anything, this is a bonus.
Flesh and ink and blood, it's going to stink.
Scratch and sniff, smell like rotten flesh.
No, Tom and I got high off these fucking things to the point where we were actively pressing down on the things and taking snorts of the shit. The books are awesome.
And then I came, and they showed me how to do that.
So for the whole rest of that week, we're all just around. Hey, you got any books, man? I need a hit, man.
That because again, Tom had we had a bunch of Tom had a box in his office. There was a box in the store.
Yeah.
That worked for a long time.
It did. That did not go away
for a long time. No, we got some other interesting stuff.
Sure.
That's the main flyer. Yeah.
The promo flyer.
Yeah. Now, does that mention Within the Woods too?
It does not.
Yeah, I think we did say
this was like it
would have been the lid.
Ads.
But what's interesting about this is this image on the front. Yeah. We had to get that image out. We had to get a photo out of it as soon as we could. And it's at this kind of weird angle. We didn't have samples at that point. All we had were these. So we basically just folded this, and again, how we faked everything in Anchor Bay, folded this, plopped it on a flatbed scanner. Because I don't think we had a digital camera, but it was terrible. It was like,
it was a terrible. I remember that camera was shit.
And that's why all the photos in that Evil Dead book, we had to filter them because they were all like 72 DPI. And then we just made that image in Photoshop. Like all of it is just fake. Those pages are fake. The spine. That the back cover is just the front cover duplicated and then skewed a little bit. because we had to get this marketing stuff out long before we actually had any kind of physical product.
The final samples didn't come in until 2 or 3 days before they went to the retailers again. So
but even like the final approval samples.
Oh no, those were late.
We didn't have stuff that had interiors. All we had when we were starting to promote this was that outer shell to work with.
Because again, we have like a 2-week lag time between the time they're getting made and by the time they actually finally get over here. So we couldn't wait. We had. And then
in addition to the Book of the Dead, there's also like that regular edition that comes out, the blue edition.
Yeah.
Which is this one.
Yeah.
But then there's the blockbuster edition.
Yeah, and then this is
I need one of those.
$10,000. There you go. Of course you have them.
He's got the blockbuster sticker too.
Contents of the Book of the Dead.
How much did you pay for that, Garrett?
I don't remember. Maybe $30.
Oh my
$40 maybe.
That's a pretty good deal.
That's what it costs.
With this one, it was like, what are we going to put on the cover? We've used every piece of artwork, every poster, everything we could do. So we went back to that photograph that they used as a basis for the illustrated poster because there was that point where it's like, it's got to be photography. They don't want illustrations anymore.
The early releases, though, is there a reason why they didn't use the original poster? Because it was forever before they went back to that. That's
a good question. I honestly don't know why that was. Because it was a great poster, and I know that was not during a time where there was any kind of a animus towards illustrated posters. I think, you know what it might have been, is that had been really the only thing used for the movie for so long. I think we were trying to mix it up, and that's really the only thing. And also the Evil Dead Elite DVD had used that illustration, or not the illustration, but the photo.
Yeah.
So I think we're like, well, we got to differentiate it from that. So that's probably why we never used it.
But I love some of these photos that you guys like. These I loved all this weird kind of stuff, and even on this thing here, like I loved that realistic looking image.
Well, a lot of the photos were used just for they were like production photos from the original movie, right?
Well, those photos, a lot of those photos are not actually from the film. That was a specific photo shoot that was done here in Michigan with Bruce and an actress that they just hired. She's obviously not from the film. Right. And that always pissed Ellen Sandweiss off. It's like, who's that bitch?
So was this after the movie was made? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
When they were getting ready to start promoting the film, they rented out a little studio and set like the one with Bruce and the chainsaw and the girl behind him, the classic image of her coming out of the ground. All those were done at a little studio. Mike Dietz, the set photographer, took this specific shoot, and they got Bruce and that girl, and they did those photos. And but Ellen was always like, I don't know who that bitch is, but she's
what do you guys think though? Like 24 years later, or whatever it is now, it's almost 24 years later. The collectability of this edition, and still for Evil Dead, they've never come close to topping the Book of the Dead.
This. That's the problem.
Yeah.
We knew this was. It's like we're never gonna be able to top this because it was the rare situation where it's a practical prop replica that is the perfect size and doubles as a DVD cover. Nothing else lends itself to that like that. I mean, that was sort of and again, no one else had ever done anything like this. So it was such a trial and error process.
And it was also, again, that timing, it was that window in DVD where that kind of experimentation was financially viable. Like that was one of the things. It was the prices were high enough. There was huge retailer support. Like that's the thing, is if your retailers aren't all in, then this sort of stuff doesn't happen.
They were excited as hell about this.
They knew that this was going to work too.
But you know what? And Mike brings up a good point. It was a specific moment. 5 years earlier, couldn't have done it. 5 years later, couldn't have done it. We hit it at the moment where the DVD roller coaster was about to start its way to it was at the top of the point where it was ever going to be. And
I got to think.
Get away with doing that.
I don't know what you guys think. From 2000 to like 2004, was the peak of like Anchor Bay. Those years.
Well, those happened to coincide with the years I was there, so I would have to agree with you.
But I mean, it seems like that everything, almost like that Dawn of the Dead said, like that was almost the last big thing for Anchor Bay, and then they kind of
the company transitioned. It grew.
Yeah.
It got bought out by a couple different companies.
Yeah, it was the shift to IDT Entertainment.
Yeah,
I mean that was really what it was.
And
is
the
IDT,
emphasis.
Well, actually, no, there's two things, because that what a lot of people don't realize also is Anchor, like as we've mentioned many times, when we started putting stuff out, no one thought this was going to go where it was going to go, right? Home video was not a thing. Sell-through was not a thing. No one made any money off of it. So studios were willing to let stuff go for cheaper. And not just studios, but independent people. So early Anchor Bay was able to license this stuff for a good, for lower amounts and better royalties. But then once it blew up and it came time to relicense these things, all of a sudden these people are like, okay, well, no, we want more money. And they're asking for more money at the same time that sales are starting to dip. So that sort of collides, and then it actually becomes very difficult. And also things like, early on in DVD, you could get people to talk on a commentary for free.
Yeah, now, then eventually. Yeah.
Then
Now
now they're
it's all
going to
about
charge,
those
and people
Benjamins.
start charging to do other sorts of things. It becomes more exponentially more expensive to make this
The
stuff.
studios started
Exactly
counting.
while sales are shrinking.
Yeah, the studios started counting on that revenue stream.
Yeah.
They would invest and make movies that they knew would do maybe okay in theaters, but that's okay. We'll make it up on DVD. And that, then eventually that led to the whole. I mean, there had been direct to video obviously before that, but direct to DVD became a whole nother industry.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
So it was a matter of, and Jay discovered this as well. We were able to get licensing deals with a couple of the studios, Disney, Universal, but then there were studios that wouldn't even talk to us, no matter what. And their attitude seemed to be, well, what do you want? Well, we want these movies here that you haven't put out that we really want to do. We've never even heard of those movies. Well, that's fine. Can we license them? Well, we're not going to do anything with them, but can we license them? No, they're ours.
Right.
They became really scared to let. And I remember the one that really got us in trouble, The Happiest Millionaire, which was a Disney title. When one of the many, we licensed a shit ton of Disney titles. That's just in summary. What happened is that got press. I think the Variety or the LA Times or something, that Anchor Bay had restored and re-released The Happiest Millionaire, and I think it was Michael Eisner or somebody at Disney went, "The fuck are we doing giving our movies out to this other company?"
Yeah.
And suddenly we didn't get no more Disney movies after that. So the industry became weak. In terms of sub-licensing for a long while, it was just like, we've never heard of these movies, but you can't have them. They're ours because we don't want you to make money. I was like,
and it's also that one of the problems is in those situations, if you're the guy that approves it to go over to someone else and it becomes very, very successful, then people are going to blame you.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
why did you let that thing go? We should have put that out. Even if you were someone who said internally we should put that out, it doesn't matter. So when someone else becomes successful with a thing that you could have and should have been successful with, then some heads are going to roll. So a lot of people just don't want to take that chance.
Did I ever tell the story about Army of Darkness? What happened with that?
Oh, I think so. But yeah.
Well, Army of Darkness.
There.
Yeah, because Jay went to Universal to sub-license Army of Darkness just by itself, because we were doing, obviously, the first Evil Dead, and we had already had Evil Dead 2 at that point. And so he was like, well, let's try to get Army of Darkness. And Universal, the person that he was talking to at Universal was like, huh? What's Army of Darkness? Oh, yeah, okay. And Anchor Bay offered a nice amount of money for it. So they were like, well, I've never heard of it. Whatever. Sure, here, take it, fine. Exclusive license for it, by the way. The deal is done, signed, everything's great. Well, this was a case of the right hand didn't know what the left hand was doing. Come to find out, marketing finds out that they've traded away Army of Darkness to Anchor Bay, and they go, who did this? Was like, oh, we just licensed this out. That's our highest selling catalog title. Army of Darkness didn't do well in the theaters, but it did huge on home video for Universal. So they went back to Jay and said, please let us have our movie back. We gave this to. We shouldn't have given this to you. And Jay, being the did the smartest thing. We'll tell you what, guys. We'll make it a non-exclusive. You can keep your edition out there. We'll do ours, so you can keep selling yours. But to make it up to me, give me Repo Man, give me this, give me Nightmares. So that's how we got the other Universal titles that we released, like Two Lane Blacktop and all those other. Because Universal was basically like, we fucked up. They're going to kill us. Please don't, But that's again, but that never happened again.
Now with you doing your own company now, do you find that you're running into problems too, where you're finding movies and once you ask about them, the company's like, no, we want to keep our stuff? Like, are you saying that that's still a problem, or not as much because the game is?
It's probably easier not to deal with studios, right? You're dealing with like independent.
It depends. I mean, it certainly depends. It depends on who owns what and for what reason, or if anyone steps up to say they own a fucking movie, as it is often the case. The studios have certainly in recent years, since the DVD craze died down and home video has gone back to being sort of an ancillary profit stream, not something that they rely on as much or can count on as much. Studios that never opened their doors to us back in the day, like Paramount and Warner Brothers and so forth, they're now doing deals. But even those deals have to be multi-title packages that, there's a big advance and a nice royalty. So they're not cheap by any streams, but the doors are open. I don't really deal with the studios very much because the titles I'm going after are kind of orphan children that are out begging for, money in the street just to stay alive. But I have dealt with a couple studios recently on a couple things, and I'm hoping that to maybe open the door. But they don't want to do onesies and twosies. They want to do 10, 15, 20 titles at once. And I don't have the budget for doing. And a lot of those studios titles have been kind of exhausted. They've been done a number of times. So it's like, well, I'm not opposed to re-releasing something if I feel there's something worth doing with it. But if it's just a matter of, I'm not going to say what movie it was, but there was a movie that was brought up to me the other day. So we could do a 4K re-release of this. And
King Frat.
No, it wasn't that. But it was just like, it had already been out and already been a deluxe edition. And it was really, I was like, well, is a 4K upgrade really going to swing, really excite for all the work we're going to have to put into it? Is it really going to, so ultimately I was like, I don't know about that. But it's easier, certainly, to get the conversation at least going. It's not like you're talking to a brick wall anymore.
Well, you're on a pretty good run. I think you should just stick with, like, Blu-rays and 4Ks of movies that have not been released on
Well, that's what I want to focus on, certainly. That's what we were doing at Anchor Bay, too. At least a lot of those movies had been out before, but they had never been given a decent treatment.
Right.
They had been exposed on VHS, but they didn't look good. They weren't presented in widescreen, or they weren't remastered. And, DVD was a major, people forget how much of a major step up in quality it was from from VHS to DVD. And so that was it was basically like everything old is new again.
Exciting
now,
times, yeah.
I mean, from
it's
Blu-ray
harder,
Well, Blu-ray to 4K, I'm not saying you can't get a huge quality jump and there are. But it's a little bit of a harder sell for some films. For some
common movie fans, they don't care.
Yeah, and it's or at least it's not something that they're going to necessarily rush out and buy on day one. But look, but it's also very movie dependent. Which film are we talking about here? It's like that line from Men in Black when they're touring the alien technology room. And Tommy Lee Jones picks up this little tiny disc and goes, this is going to replace CDs in a few years. Guess I'm going to have to buy the White Album again. And there's always something. There's movies that you will buy every single time it comes out. And Anchor Bay, I think, proved that Evil Dead is one of them.
Yeah.
Dawn of the Dead is one of them. And
Halloween.
Halloween is one of them.
It's those movies that do stand the test of time.
But this Book of the Dead, as we kind of wrap this up, it cost a little bit more to make. It was a big process. There was pros and cons. There was obstacles. It was the whole thing to get this thing out. It's one of the coolest still physical media editions that I think that I have, that most people have. Now, was this considered a huge financial success at the end of the day for you guys?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, because
Yes.
we made 200,000 of those things to go out, and they sold.
And we made more.
Yeah, we made more.
We made more.
I think the final count was somewhere in the neighborhood of 350,000 of those things.
Wow. I'm only asking because he said there was boxes at Anchor Bay still, so I was wondering how much were, did they all sell? Were those just new ones that you had reprinted?
Oh, no,
they
did.
I mean,
we did more runs of them. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
we kept making them, and then we would have, 100 copies, at Anchor Bay out of 200,000 of, again, just the first run.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I don't know that run. Well, actually, those actually would, because those were manufactured in China. Those would include the UK and the Canadian ones too. Although they might not have been in our number, they might have been
right. No, I don't think.
And
they were.
We can get into it another day. But part 2, you guys ended up doing a sequel, and then they ended up doing that like double pack with some of these back in.
Yeah,
where you guys had them both together.
I'm sure
right?
Mike's got that still. Yeah, that's the package.
The box that they both came in.
Wasn't there one with like a dagger or something like that too?
That was Australia.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Because they did a Book of the Dead for Army of Darkness in Australia.
Yeah, I've got that one. I think Via Vision over there in Australia did it.
Did that, I think, yeah.
It's yeah.
But no, the Book of the Dead was, not only was it a huge financial success because those things were flying off the shelves. It brought us a lot of industry attention.
Actually.
Yeah. Do you have your award?
This.
Wow.
There, yeah. I've got one of those in the other room. I should have brought it in here. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually,
that again, Mike.
That's it right there. That's the DVD awards. Yes, we won best packaging.
The 5th annual DVD awards.
And I don't think
we won a ton of packaging awards.
Oh, we did. We several.
It was, and I think with one of them, like the acceptance, like it was one of those situations where and the nominees are, and then when they announce it, it's kind of like, and it's Book of the Dead.
Yeah,
it's kind of like.
I remember Jay was there to accept that.
Are they still doing the DVD awards?
No, that stopped a long time ago.
But and then there was also, we had that cast reunion.
That was a great night.
We had at the Redford Theater in Detroit. We had the whole cast in there. That's where we got all that stuff signed.
Everyone gathered. Bruce was there, and it was the first time Bruce and every member of the cast and Tom Sullivan had been in the same room together since the movie was finished. And I remember we were just sitting in the conference room doing a lot of signatures and stuff ahead of time. And then we rented a van, and I drove a van with everybody in it, swapping high school stories and set stories in the back. Drove to Benihana for dinner. And I remember I'm driving like this, and Tom Bambard is sitting in the passenger seat, and he turns and he sees me and he goes, "Michael, are you all right?" And I'm like, I'm having a fucking out-of-body experience right now, because it's like the cast of Evil Dead is in the back of my van.
Now, was it there for a screening, or was that like for this specific edition that you guys did a party?
It was a promotional reunion screening for that. It was done at the Landmark Main Theater in Royal Oak, which is sadly the longest.
Yeah, right. It wasn't the Redford. It was Atlanta.
I mean, they're not doing stuff like that now, right? Like when they put some of these editions, they're not doing like a release party for an edition coming out. Like that's unheard of, right?
Sometimes certain ones get it, but
not at that level, probably.
And that's another thing that needs to kind of factor into this as to why Jay Douglas was able to make a handshake deal with Sam Raimi. I think another big part of this is that we were Michigan boys.
Yeah.
Sam and Bruce, those guys are all from Michigan. They're all born and raised here, and they made their, they have a. Was
it the Redford where it actually premiered?
The Redford Theater, which is still, I live not even 10 minutes from it.
Or they still show it from time to time.
Yeah, and it was premiered as the Book of the. There's a famous photo of Sam, Rob, and Bruce standing in front of the Redford when it was still called Book of the Dead, on the night that they premiered the movie. And that theater's still in operation. It's a revival theater. They do all sorts of revival screenings down there. Yeah. And but so I think that was one of the reasons that Evil Dead meant so much to Anchor Bay and to Jay, and why Bruce and Sam kept up with us over the years with it, because it was Michigan. I think that was certainly a connection with that might not have had somewhere else.
One interesting aspect too, though, going back to the packaging of it all, and if you go on eBay, these are still going for quite a bit. If they're in good condition, they're going for a little bit more. Mm-hmm. These editions, I think in the next 5 to 10 years, as more and more of them are kind of like falling apart and everything.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be one of those deals where, hey, I've got this one in pristine condition. I could see it going for $200 or $300.
Oh, absolutely. And again, when we did this, we just wanted to get them out the door and hope they lasted 6 months. You know, we weren't thinking, what's this going to be like? I mean, obviously we had the autograph pages and stuff like that. We were thinking a little bit ahead, but we weren't thinking about what's the condition of these things going to be in 20 years. No.
But that people would think so much of it, though. I mean, like I've got the original packaging still, and leave it displayed here for 20 plus years. I mean, that's got to make you guys feel pretty good.
It does.
Oh, it does. But the other cool things, and Michael, I don't know, you will remember this. You might even have one of these. Remember these?
Yeah, that's one of the hand painted ones that Tom Sullivan did.
Yeah, this was hand painted by Tom Sullivan, right? And then we also had the cast sign these little sheets, and they got turned into.
Those were signed at on the conference table at Anchor Bay the night before the screening. And
wow, look at that thing. That's what I was gonna say. If I had one of those things, that thing would be framed up, man. Wow.
You know, the sad thing is, I had one of those for years, and I sold it during a period where I didn't have any money.
I
sold it on one of those auctions.
26 of them.
We didn't make 26.
No, we didn't make 26 because I have a stack of these and a couple of these. So we only
out of the 26, we made 12. We made 12.
And those, so there was Michael. You got one.
Jill got one.
Number 2. So I got number 2. Tom Sullivan got number 1.
Tom Bambar got one.
Tom Bambar got one. Well, there was an Anchor Bay one. Did Tom have one specifically?
Jill ended up with that.
Tom just get his
Tom had one, and then there was one hanging, and then Jill ended up with that.
There was one in the office.
The Best Buy buyer got one.
Right. Then the rest went to buyers.
Yeah. Who probably didn't give a flying fuck about it one way or the other.
I know some of them did, because I remember at that party there were some people who were geeked. That was one of the things that was also true. I mean, we talk about suits and stuff like that, but a lot of the people at Best Buy, at Borders especially.
That's true. Oh, yeah, that's true.
I mean, the upper management of those places might be suits, but a lot of the people who are rank and file, they're geeks too, and they love this stuff. Like, Brian, he's as geeky as you get. Oh,
God, yes.
And so, and he would have relationships with these people, and they would, some of these people just dug this stuff. So, yeah, some of these things were actually coveted pretty well amongst some of the buyers who knew what they were doing and who dug this stuff as much as we did.
And I got to say, Mike's efforts and mine and Tom Sullivan and all the people who worked on the Book of the Dead, but you really got to give it up to our marketing staff and our sales staff. They recognized how cool this was, and they really got the word out, and they really did a great job in presenting this as an event to people. This wasn't just another release. This wasn't just a repackage. No, this is something really special. And the retailers really, I can't remember another release we ever did where the retailers flipped the fuck out as much as they did on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
Well, again, this was special. This was one of those things that was like, you can do DVD like this?
Yeah.
Like, that's really what it was. It was that idea that, like, oh, you can do it as more than just this content. It can be a thing. It can be a thing of its own, the object itself.
And the only downside was everything we did after that. How can we top the Book of the Dead? How can the Dawn of the Dead packaging be the Book of the Dead? Everything was being judged against that. And I kept trying to say, we can't. That's just a singular event. Be happy about that. We're still going to come up with cool, innovative packaging, but don't expect it to always be the Book of the Dead. That's impossible.
Are you surprised, though, that in the years since, I mean, we haven't seen anybody even attempt to do the Book of the Dead again? Like, I mean, with a lot of newer technology, like you could do a silicone Book of the Dead.
Well, again, it comes down to cost and expense and margins, and back then, again, during that brief moment, we could do that economically for a decent price because we were going to move 250,000 units of it.
Right.
Now, what would you sell? 10,000, maybe.
Well, now
15?
you would have to do a far more premium edition.
Right. It would cost $89.99.
$250.
Yeah.
You guys heard about this set?
Which is basically just the stuff that Tom Sullivan sells himself.
Look, they've got these sets now that are like $200 a set.
Also,
they could easily do like a limited edition of some sort.
Yeah, but it's also, again, keep in mind, it's a process.
Well,
they're not easy to do.
Specifically with that, this would require the participation of Tom Sullivan.
Yeah.
And he can be problematic with the wrong people.
Mm-hmm. He loved, and by the way, he loved working with us after all of it was said and done.
I mean, Tom is one of those guys that doesn't handle corporate suit guys very well, which is why he can handle Jay Douglas.
Yeah, because Jay didn't handle corporate suits people either.
Tom, I don't even know that Tom Sullivan could have worked with like Anchor Bay 3.0.
No, again, the stars aligned. So, the right moment.
So yeah, I mean, so one, without his participation, things become challenging, certainly from a legal standpoint. And yeah, the cost, and then at that point, it becomes like we've mentioned, it's obvious that Lionsgate doesn't think that the value is there, and a lot of it just because Lionsgate does not see that property in that way, which is strange to me, and I don't know why.
Well, that's a good. It's funny because I work with Lionsgate a lot, and it's not that they don't care; it's that they're doing Hunger Games, they're doing John Wick, they're doing they've got this whole other level of being that we didn't have at Anchor Bay. This whole other infrastructure, this whole other industry essentially that they're dealing with. They love catalog titles. They're great with them, but there's only so much attention that they're going to focus on.
And like that is really what the difference with Anchor Bay was. I mean, that's what studios were always like that, except for a brief period of time when they were making money hand over fist. And it's kind of gone back to that now with a lot of them, especially with something like catalog. So yeah, but in the future I could see it because there will come a time that physical, I personally, this is like a personal belief of mine, I do think that physical media is going to find a stronger footing marrying itself to other collectibles.
Mm-hmm.
So like the Book of the Dead, that's a prop replica, right?
Yeah.
And that was the thing, is we could never come up with anything that was a replica. We could come up with something cool. We could come up with this. We come up with that. We would try. There was actually, you had mentioned, I think that later we did that Evil Dead Ultimate Edition.
Right.
And I've actually got like digital files for that. At one point, that was a scrapbook.
Mm-hmm.
Like the pages of that were going to look like a scrapbook. So
remember everyone kept saying, can you do a replica of The Cabin?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, no, we can't do it.
Replica of The Cabin, where to go?
We got a wonderful proposal book.
Yeah. I think we showed this before, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, and show you how it can be done, but it was so impractical, and a lot of stores, they didn't want it because it's like, well, where are we going to fit it on our shelves?
Right.
Again, that was another thing about the Book of the Dead that was so great, is that it just fit on their shelves.
Right.
We didn't have.
Well, and The Cabin was actually rumored online for years and years. People were like, "Oh, it's coming." They said that they're working on it or whatever.
Well, now wait a minute. Are you saying that a rumor about Anchor Bay releasing something may have turned out to be something of an exaggeration or a falsehood? I never encountered that once in my entire time on the internet.
Okay, I got to show it. Let me see if I can share my screen.
So you're saying that Red Shark Pictures is going to get Evil Dead and do a Cabin box?
No.
Since you're close with Lionsgate.
Right. No, that's how that's how that works. I'm just going to call, hey, gimme. And then just, that doesn't work like that.
You heard it here first.
There you go. It's a scoop.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it possible? Because I wish I could. We also, one of the cool things we sent out, and this was just to certain retailers, it was a little tiny, Mike, you have yours there somewhere. It was a little tiny tape recorder, little mini cassette tape recorder that had the Evil Dead Book of the Dead sticker on it. And we would send it out in a box to the retailer, and you hit play. And we had...
I don't think it has batteries anymore.
No, but I've got a digital recording of it here. I should send it to you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of that.
Yeah,
and it's,
this is a little replica.
Yeah.
And there's a little tiny mini cassette in there.
And
talk about innovative, though. I mean, that's what I love is that you guys were thinking, man. Like, it was super innovative.
And I don't know if they got the actual guy who did the voice. Whoever it was did a brilliant imitation. If it wasn't him, but it sounds like Bob. What's his name? The guy from AMC. The Bob. I can't remember his last name. Who did the actual recording of the Book of the Dead? The Turum Demont in the movie. They got someone to either they got him or they got someone to imitate his voice, and it's like the Anchor Bay Book of the Dead coming soon. It was he did it like it was a spoof of that recording, and it's like this was really clever. And I was like, damn, that guy sounds a lot like him. Hopefully you can hear this. I'm gonna hold on. Let me try something here.
I believe I have made a significant find in the Anchor Bay ruins. I have uncovered a volume of ancient Sumerian burial practices. It is entitled Naturan Demonto, roughly translated, the Book of the Dead. Bound in human flesh and inked in human blood, it contains audio commentary with writer-director Sam Raimi and producer Robert Tappert, audio commentary with star Bruce Campbell, Finalysis, an all-new 26-minute documentary by Bruce Campbell, Discovering Evil Dead, an all-new featurette on the film's fascinating history, behind-the-scenes footage and outtakes, and many other intriguing features. I urge you to alert the public of this Book of the Dead before it is brought to active life on March 5th, 2002.
That's rad, dude. That's awesome.
All right, guys. But yeah, it's always fun getting together and hearing all these stories and everything. And I greatly appreciate you guys. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Oh, and just wait. Quick thing before we go. Yeah, happy Halloween. It's still good. It's still good. It's still.
Wow, that is good.
Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Anchor Bay Archives. Listen to the full Uncut podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And make sure you follow both YouTube channels at Born to Be Rad and Dead Pit for more exclusive video content.